too long, didn't read. The church has a lot of investments, a lot of money, and they're doing well with them. Oh no. Just remember, you won't love it unless you live it. All right, so Mormon fans, $33 billion. Today it was revealed by Mormon leaks that the church likely has ties to investment companies that use more than $33 billion. The way that this was discovered was basically there's these two guys that run the website Mormon Leaks. They heard a couple weeks ago the church say that they have lots of different assets. They said that they own stocks. And so they said, let's find out what stocks they have. And through a series of different information paths, they were able to trace these certain companies had been registered by the same domain registrar that the churches used. They were hosted by the same web service that the churches used. There were other things about IP addresses that they were able to basically tie to the church and say, yes, definitely, these 15 companies, each managing between $1 billion and $5 billion, are owned by the church. I think 3 of the directors that they verified were, at least at one point in time, if not currently, church employees. Really cool detective work. I always thought that that was probably a way that you could find that information, because anything over $100 million public traded securities is reported publicly. It's cool that they actually found that out. Anyways, a lot of people were like, oh, I can't believe that the church is asking money from poor people and they have over $33 billion in stocks. And some of the stocks were ranging from a whole bunch of different stuff. Trucking companies. I didn't see Victoria's Secret, but someone said that there's Victoria's Secret on there. A bunch of different companies, lots in Disney. And they just, yeah, they have $33 billion in stocks. On another note, someone told me last time that I wasn't being sincere or genuine enough in my last video. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more sincere this time. I'll try to enunciate clearly, but okay, holy crap, really? You guys are gonna be complaining that the church practices a biblical principle of tithing down in Malachi, open you up the windows of heaven kind of stuff. That is just a ruse? Like, it's like, oh, the Mormons are just trying to steal from poor people. I'm like, okay, so it's taught about in the Bible, and principle that lots of churches practice, but okay, let's keep going. The qualm is that if someone is poor or someone doesn't have enough money to pay their rent, the church teaches you should pay your tithing and you'll be blessed. A lot of people qualm with that. That was their specific instance. I don't really see it that way, because I mean, I've known people that don't pay tithing at all, never come to church, and the church has monetarily helped them pay their rent. So I don't think it's like the church some sort of weird money grab. And also the other thing is, like, with apostles, prophets and apostles, it's like, what would their incentive be? Are you saying that the grandmas, the widow's mite, are you saying that the widow's mite is funding or proportional, the amount of tithing the church takes in is proportional to the prophets and apostles' stipend? Are you saying that the more money that the church brings in means that President Nelson's gonna get a bigger stipend? Gonna get more money? He's gonna get a bigger pay raise? Is that what you're saying? Because everything that we know, granted, we don't know a ton, but thanks to you, Mormon Leaks, we do know some, and there is not a chance that tithing is proportional to their income. It's just like, it doesn't even, they're not even on the same scale. I mean, if you do some rough numbers, like super rough numbers, but if the church has 16 million members, so half 7, half 3.5, 1.75 million. $4 billion a year of income, gross income. And then you've got salaries from the prophets and apostles. We've seen that they roughly make around 6 figures or have a stipend around 6 figures. That's for the first quorum of the 70 and the prophets and apostles. So you've got $10 million there. You've got all of the church employees in the church office building and different churches, you know. You have $100 million in employees' salaries. Let's say you have $100 million going to new churches, new buildings every year, because you got about $25 million per temple, we'll say. I don't know how many temples you make a year, 4 temples a year. So let's go a little bit more. Regardless, let's take away $1 billion and say that's all expenses. So now you've got $3 billion conservatively a year in business terms of net profits. You're telling me that an organization that has net profits of $3 billion a year. And it's weird to see an organization, and some of these numbers are based on like 1990 stuff. So it's like, okay, so it's weird to have $33 billion. I would expect to be much higher than that. And I'm sure they have savings. And this doesn't include, assets like KSL Broadcasting, Deseret News, the ranches in Florida, property all over Utah, Nevada, California, a lot of different properties. But I would say that the stocks probably are, a significant part of the church's portfolio. A lot of people also claimed, because part of the church's mission said that we're not a for-profit entity, we do stuff to fulfill the mission of the church. What they don't understand, what a lot of people don't understand, is that the church doesn't really see itself as part of the world. They basically say, if the whole world were to collapse tomorrow, could we still function? Could we still provide for people? Could we still help the church to grow? Could we still do ministering? Could we still do missionary work? And the answer is clearly yes. They're literally practicing biblical principles of investing their money. That is a biblical principle. Do you hide your talents under a bushel? Do you spend your talents, or do you increase them? That is literally a biblical principle. And whether or not you believe in God, compounding interest is a good thing. The more money that you can save right now, the more it's going to grow in 20, 30 years from now. For a long time, the church has been investing this money. There's been no secret. I've known that the church has stocks for a long time. You can pay your tithing in stocks. You can pay your tithing in gold. I picked tithing in gold one time. It was either, I don't worry, I sold it all already, so don't come rob me or anything, but I had an opportunity to either invest in a 360 video app, which Facebook and Google killed.
Because they made it on their platform available, but that doesn't matter. Or Bitcoin. Yeah, I'd be multi-millionaire right now, but this is Bitcoin. But it's okay.
Dang it, I shouldn't have said that to all the anti-Mormons. They're going to get me fired. A note on the two founders of Mormon Leaks. We got McKnight and Ethan Dodge. McKnight was the original guy who was basically on the ex-Mormon Reddits and things like that, and that's where he got the idea for Mormon Leaks, is because there was somebody that had some information. I think it was the one specifically around the non-baptism of 8-year-olds of gay parents, and I did a video on that and a follow-up video on that.
He had issues with that, but the person wanted to, didn't want to be caught, didn't want to be traced back to him, so, because there's legal ramifications, I guess, I don't know. And so he released it to McKnight. McKnight started WikiLeaks, and that's how it was born. And McKnight now runs the whole website with his co-founder.
What's his name? Ethan Dodge. So Ethan Dodge, he was a member as well. Both these guys were members. McKnight lives in Las Vegas, and Ethan Dodge lives back east somewhere. And he's a brilliant coder from what I can see.
He has a public key, so he's got some, some street cred.
But two guys, they seem nice enough. I checked out both their Facebook pages and requested their friendship. Add me if you find me. And the goal doesn't seem nefarious. They want transparency, and they both left the church, but they just want people to be able to have the information. And I don't disagree with them. I don't think there's anything wrong with having all the information. But at the same time, I feel like people will try to skew things. Even amongst them, it seems like there's some, issues that are kind of misunderstood. Anyways, we can help them, invite them back to church, if you know them. If anything, these type of revelations give me more faith that the church is doing right, because they're following biblical principles. They're undercompensating. If there was a corporation that managed $50 billion worth of assets, do you really think that the CEO/president of the church would be making $120,000? No. They'd be easily making $10 million a year, if not more than that. Again, if anything, it gives me more faith that the church is doing right and they're performing a good work. Could the church do more? Of course they could. Could they invest in more homeless shelters? Sure, they absolutely could. Will they, now that it's revealed that they've got $33 billion in reserves? Maybe. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this is all... But don't let it shake your faith. Just because the church has a lot of money doesn't all of a sudden relieve me from paying my tithing. My tithing isn't for the church. It doesn't matter how much the church has. My tithing goes because it helps me put God first. Every commandment that you live does that. Think about it. Every single commandment that you live helps you put God first. That's the point. So while I may be super enthusiastic about making money, I may be super enthusiastic about new business ventures or whatever it may be, tithing helps me stay focused and let me know that, it's not all about money. It's about God. We need to glorify Him. We need to help other people. everything else, it stems from putting God first. If there's any commandment that you are having a struggle with or having a hard time with, I can promise you that putting God first is the motivation behind that commandment. So try it. Recognize how it helps you to put God first. Recognize how it's helping you to become more spiritual. If it is a super hard financial burden to pay tithing, check yourself. Is that because of spending habits, or is that consumption habits, or is it because you genuinely don't have enough money? And sometimes that's hard to see because, it's like literally you could survive on very, very little, right? I mean, it's very subjective. Money is a very subjective thing. If people say they have a hard time with money, there's people that say they have a hard time with money and they make $300,000 a year. There's people that say they have a hard time with money and they make millions of dollars a year. There's people that have gone bankrupt that make billions of dollars, They have owned companies that have made billions of dollars. It's genuinely not about money. Money is a magnifier. That's a sweet lesson that I've learned, is that more money just makes more of what you already are, or what you strive to be. So having 10% less that goes to God and helps you focus on Him is certainly a good thing in my eyes. And I've never seen anything negative that the church has done with money. They may have invested it, but I don't see that as a negative thing. I don't see growing that money as a negative thing. I see that more as, again, an investment for hard times that could come. If there was a huge financial meltdown, the church has reserves. They've got orange orchards. They've got cattle farms. They've got sheep. They've got goats. They've got everything, They've got a bread mill. They've got pasta mills. There is enough food in those grain silos to feed Salt Lake for a year. So, I don't know. It's just, and while you might say that they've got too much money and should give it away, you can't be saying in the same breath that the world would be a better place without the church. Because that $1 million that was donated to the homeless shelter in Ogden wouldn't have existed. The land that's been donated to the new homeless shelter in Salt Lake City wouldn't have existed. I mean, it really is a blessing. I truly believe in tithing. I've got so many experiences of my own and of friends that when they've paid tithing, direct and immediate blessings have come of it. I'm not an advocate for the prosperity gospel. I don't think the more money you send in, the richer you're going to be. But I definitely think there are blessings, spiritual and temporal, that come from paying tithing. And I can only promise you that you will find the same thing when you look into your own finances, look into the doctrine behind tithing, the doctrine behind paying on your increase. It's okay to save your tithing, make it so that you pay it all in a lump sum, at the end of the year. It's okay. You can do things like that. And I think it's helpful. It's helpful for a lot of people to pay immediately, but there's other ways that you can make tithing work. There's other ways that you can make it work for you and how it works best for you and your family. So pray about it. Talk to God about it. He's the one that knows your heart. The bishop's not going to look at your bank statements. He's not looking at your income. He's going to ask, are you a full tithe payer? And that's between you and God, right? You could say yes or no to the bishop, and he's not going to know the difference. That's between you and God. So you pray to God. You ask Him if you're complete, if what you have done is pleasing unto Him. And I think the problem that a lot of people have is they always feel short. They always feel like they come up short. They feel like they're not doing enough. And just know that you are enough. Everything you do is enough. God loves you. He appreciates you. He is trying to pattern you after His image, right? He is trying to help you to become as He is, like Him. It's a tall bar to hit. We'll never get there. We'll never get there alone. We'll never get there without Jesus Christ. He's the only one that can save us. He's the only one that can take away all of our imperfections and help us to get there. So rely on them. They are the ones that you need to know intimately and talk to daily and listen to. It's very important. So Again, I believe that tithing is a principle from God. It doesn't matter to me what the church does with it after I've given it, because I'm giving it to God, and I have full faith that his authorized representatives are doing their best to follow him as well. And that's really all that matters in my mind. And just remember, I love you guys. Just remember, you won't love it unless you live it.